Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this Super Liminal Films, Super Liminal Games YouTube video. So what are we going to do today? We are going to play a little bit of MTG Arena Standard. Going to do a constructed event, which is what I like doing when I play these for you guys. So gonna pay him a 500 gold, and what am I gonna play? Well, I'm gonna play one of the scourges of the format currently. I'm going to play some Bant Scapeshift. Why? Because this deck is exactly the kind of nonsense fun that I enjoy playing. So let's get right in here and keep our fingers crossed we don't face a lot of low-to-the-ground aggro decks, because in these best-of-1 metas, that's what I've been kind of having trouble with, which I really don't understand why they haven't unbanned Rampaging Ferocidon in best-of-1 when that comes about, because that's... this deck is still very powerful in this format, and still good. Alright, so we have Temple of Mystery into Breeding Pool untapped. Casts Growth Spiral, puts Tranquil Cove on the battlefield. We have Teferi, we have Time Wipe. If we can get Escape Shift, this really just seems elementary. So going to go ahead and keep this. Give our opponent the hello. It's Temple of Mystery. What's it going to give us? A Hallowed Fountain. It's actually fine to keep on top, because we want as many lands as we can get. They actually play that Hallowed Fountain in untapped and pass the turn, and we will Growth Spiral if they tap out. Flash in the Spectral Sailor, so we'll Growth Spiral in response and put this Tranquil Cove in tapped, gaining us a life, which we're then just going to lose to their Spectral Sailor. So Blue-Green Flash is a deck that I have lost to with this deck before, but only because I played somewhat dummy. Not Blue-Green Flash. Okay, this is Mono Blue. This is one of those low-end aggro decks we were talking about being afraid of. So that's a little bummy, but I'm going to go ahead and play this Breeding Pool tapped and probably just Grow from the Ashes, because we have Time Wipe and I kind of want them to commit to the board so we can just Time Wipe stuff out. So let's just Breeding Pool tapped, Grow from the Ashes, good up to 5 mana, and then we can Time Wipe next turn if they commit. If they counter this, I also don't necessarily care, because it'll allow us to stick our Teferi, thereby invalidating this Curious Obsession. So, yep, pierce it away, opponent. So now if we draw land off the top, of which we have 25 left in the deck, if we draw land off the top, we can still Time Wipe. Also fighting a bit of a cold right now, so that was why the cough. Alright, I'm gonna play this tapped and just try to resolve it to Teferi. We're playing right into counter magic if we do that, so let's just go ahead and play this tap. We can afford to take a couple more hits, and we can Growth Spiral if they ever tap out. Which, given that they seem pretty content to just hit us for 2, is something. So they're going to Brineborn, Growth Spiral, and put the Selesnya play tapped. So ideally, I'd really like them to maybe commit 2 creatures to the board here, or 1 big one, so that we can try to fire off this Time Wipe before we get too out of our ability to deal with their stuff. So there's a Storm Tamer and a second Time Wipe. So let's just go ahead and wipe some time. They have a counterspell, which seems likely. We'll see what happens. Nope, just going to let us wipe it. Alright. So our second Time Wipe is in hand. Could really use one of our 4 Scapeshifts. Could use one of our 4 Hydroid Krasis. We have 20... or 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 23 land left in the deck. So, yep, there's Thornwood Falls, which is going to gain us a life. And then I'm going to stick this Teferi. If it sticks, which can't be spell pierced here, so it has to be a hard counter. Yep, negate. You have the other counter spell. pretty straight into a concession. Okay. And I really wonder what the context of their hand was there, because I'll take it. I can't necessarily say we did that much there. That was a lot more of an opponent conceding from a disadvantageous position. I mean, a lot of their stuff was at flash speed, and so Teferi really mucks with that. But, I mean, geez, that seems like a harsh concession to me. If I'm wrong, please let me know down in the comments that that I am just being a dumb, but that seems like a pretty rash concession. So I'm going to keep this even though it doesn't have blue mana, because Deputy of Detention is a 1-of in this deck and is extremely strong against the red decks. And Teferi is just, as we saw, extremely strong. And if we get green, we get Rejuvenator, which will probably find more green mana, and we have Scapeshift on tap already. So our opponent the hello, and gain a life with Tranquil Cove. Got the hello back. Nice. Okay, Sacred Foundry tapped. Mox Amber. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. Do we get to play against 4-color Kethis? Haven't played against this deck on the ladder except for once, and it was before the search for his Kanta. Yeah, this could be interesting. Still, for want of blue mana, I am going to land this Teferi now while we have it, and just start ticking it up to keep them off of doing instant speed things. Because they are blue, there's no counter magic. I don't know. I just don't know. So now we're Jeskai. It looks like we're super friends. Okay. Same deal, right? Just tick. Up to 1? Up to 1. Okay, tick down just to draw a card. And we still don't have green mana, and we finally have green mana. All right, enters tapped, and let's pass it up because we're not under a great deal of pressure here. Neither of us can cast things at instant speed. We do have Blast Zone out to start incrementing up, which I think I am going to increment it to 2 here, just in case. While they get a Sarkhan. All right, that's gonna be something. Yep. And Teferi is going to take out our Teferi. Wasn't that just frustrating? Yep. Let's add a counter here. Put up to 2. Temple Garden in tapped again. Rejuvenator. Temple of Mystery onto the battlefield. Growth Spiral. Have 4/4 Hydroid Crisis. I think I'm gonna bottom that spiral. We're gonna draw 2 cards next turn anyway. We're gonna take 8 here, which is not an insignificant amount of damage. Yep, Kasmina. Alright, we are getting super friendsed. Yep, got a wizard. Drawing all kinds of cards here, our opponent is. We got 3 cards in their bin, so search isn't scary yet. But we also have a 3/4 and a 5, so this Blast Zone isn't necessarily great. Oof, and they scryed to the top. That's frustrating. Okay, it was just a land, and they're... I really want to know why they played that tapped, or untapped. Yep. We'll get aided in the air. Okay. Let's tag a 4/4 Hydroid Crisis. Gain 2 life, draw 2 cards. No attacks. Rejuvenator technically holds off their Kenji token, and this does hold off one of their planeswalkers. So we'll see what we can get away with there. Have another Teferi, so we can lock down their ability to play instance. They have been to Deafening Clarion, which seems pretty good. The sad thing here is that Sarkhan is about to just be big enough that we can't really deal with him. I think it might depend. If we draw a land, this is tough. All right, we got a Narset, so now we can't draw extra cards. And I think it's time to deputy this Sarkhan away, because we're going to take a bunch of damage here anyway. Let's see what they grab with Narset. They've grabbed a Deafening Clarion. And they're going to make a 4/4. Going to bounce our Hydroid? No, okay, they're not going to bounce our Hydroid. Okay, we drew basic lands, so we know they have sorceries at instant speed. Know they have. I think I'm gonna lead on this Deputy of Detention. Still leaves me the mana to cast Scapeshift. Lead on the Deputy. Get rid of this Sarkhan for the time being. Then we will Scapeshift. We have 7 lands, so if we get rid of all of them, we'll be able to get the trigger for the Field of the Dead. So start with Field of the Dead is 1, Island is 2, Thornwood Falls to gain us a life is 3, Blossoming Sands to gain us a life is 4, Memorial to Genius to possibly draw us a card is 5, Field of Ruin to knock them off gaining life is 6, and Sun Petal Grove is 7. Got the triggers. They've got the Clarion, but we have 2 Circuitous Root in our hands. So, hand. I guess the Deafening Clarion is going to take care of the Deputy Detention as well, so that's a little frustrating. Let's go ahead and get this, either this Dragon token out of the way or this Teferi. Oh, yep. No. They're going to be able to hit us for 16 here, which I did not think about by giving that up. Probably just played that into a loss. Yep. 4, 8, 12, 16 does put us to 1. Oh, nope. That puts us to dead. Alright. Good job, opponent. I have never seen the Super Friends deck before, and didn't think about the fact that they would get their Sarkhan back. Alright, well that was interesting. Let's try that one again. That was a blatant misplay, and I feel like a dumb. We'd been a turn or so faster, or they'd not seen that Clarion, that would have been a different gig entirely. Alright. Got the Field of the Dead now. Got Temple of Mystery, Temple Garden. We got 4 different lands. Play a 2/2 Hydroid Krasis on turn 4, which seems ridiculous. We have no ramp. We have Teferi, which is very important. We have Time Wipe if we need to. Gonna mulligan this just because it had no ramp, and this is what I'm talking about. Now we got 4 ramp pieces and 3 lands, basically the ability to cast all of this. So I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna drop one of the 2 Rejuvenators because we want to go 3, 4, 5 with this. So I'm gonna go Memorial to Genius into Forest, into Herald and Harbor, into Rejuvenator, and hope maybe we hit a ramp piece sooner than that. Well, let's Memorial into Hallowed Fountain into Hinterland Harbor then. Opponent leaning on Hunted Witness doesn't make me all that Okay, Scoured Barrens. Opponent might be life gain tribal, which is fine. So I am now going to lead with Forest so that I can play this growth spiral and skip us up a turn here. Gonna do that at end step just to present likelihood that maybe we have a trick, because just blue-green here. Ministrant of Obligation. Alright, I officially don't know what our opponent's up to, but I'm going to go ahead and just cast this growth spiral, put this Temple of Mystery into play tapped. Arboreal Grazer, we can still play that and get an extra land next turn, and have Elvish Rejuvenator, so let's do that. We get a bunch of land ahead here. So we'll play the Hinterland Harbor, play the Grazer, put a Hallowed Fountain in tapped, cast a Rejuvenator, get Simic Guildgate. That puts us up to 6 lands. Next turn we can get Grow, we can get Circuitous Route, we can really start ramping ourselves out here. So now we've got Asa Karlov. That's one we're going to have to deal with. Just going to go ahead and block the 2/1 here. Take 1, we don't need to really worry about that all that much. So here is our 7th land. The part of me wants to just cast Circuitous Route and Grow from the Ashes because we only have 2 basic lands, I think, left in the library. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cast Circuitous Route, getting ice with 3 basic 2 gates. And I'm going to cast Grow from the Ashes without Kicker. Get one of those 3 basic lands. Now down to 27, 25, 24. 19 lands left in the deck. So, and we can draw cards now. So now it's really just Scapeshift time. Basically, the deal is hitting Scapeshift here, and our opponent staying away from a sacrifice outlet because, oh boy, oh boy. Gonna take 1 again, block the 2. On a breeding pool, so I'm gonna go ahead and main phase crack this Memorial to Genius. That's still going to leave us 4 mana if we draw. Okay, we've drawn to Teferi. I'm going to play this breeding pool in tapped. Play this Teferi. And I'm going to bounce this Teysa back to their hand. And draw the Field of the Dead. Okay, so we do give up our Teferi this way, but we also cost them their turn. We have Field of the Dead coming in next turn. We still have to be careful about these Ministrants of Obligation once Teferi's in the battlefield, because the 8 flyers that it represents is not nothing. Each of these represents 4 flyers with Teysa on the battlefield. So we really need to get a Scapeshift or a Time Wipe, and then probably a Time Wipe. That's going at our... I want to protect Teferi, so give it up this way. We do let them create 4 flyers this way, which is a lot. So I would really like a Time Wipe, or actually, Blast Zone is also fine, because we can get it up to 4 with relative ease. Let's go ahead and play Blast Zone, because getting that up to 4 requires 6 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can even still cast Growth Spiral, so that's fine. We can get the Teysa off the battlefield, which is going to take a lot of work. I wish Blast Zone could let us get tokens, but we don't have that luxury. Let's draw a card, since we still have the mana to get that up to 6. We get a Circuitous Route. We're going to put this onto the battlefield. And we want to cast a Circuitous Route. I want to be able to kill it. I mean, do we race him? Let's race him. They seemed interested in killing Teferi, so let's race him. Plus, we can add 2 counters to the Blast Zone, put it up to 3, and... Pardon me. I have to mute that time. So we can still kind of race him here. Aha, Cruel Celebrant. Well, that's going to be a problem. Two decks in a row I've never seen on the ladder, and I'm oh boy. Plague Crafter, you say? Well, that's just ain't that just peachy? Go ahead and just sack Teferi because that's not me losing a creature. All right, time wipe. Time wipe one time. We got two of them in the deck. Please attack with Teysa. Time wipe would actually be alright here. Blocks. Put our Boreal Grazer in front of one of those. Alright, so now we don't have to worry about. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, a bunch of zeros. Let's go ahead and put 2 counters on this. Go ahead and put 2 counters on this. There we go. So now it's got 3 on it, and we've drawn a land, which is not good. Now we're dead. Yep. Well, gonna go ahead and concede that one. Really fighting this summertime cold. It's not great. All right, so we're 1 and 2. This is not a very good showing of a very good deck, but boy, those were some weird decks that I really dug. This is kind of that late in the format woes. I feel this way a lot when I play Standard, which really I've only been doing for the last year or so again after a long bout of not playing Standard. Thanks, Arena. But this is sort of what I feel towards the end of the format a lot, is it just feels like there's people out there playing weird decks, and if you haven't seen them before, in the last 2 decks we faced, I haven't, you can get just got by trying your game plan and just having it not work. Plus, I am kind of playing the Boogeyman deck in the format, and a lot of people are trying to do things interesting that'll beat it. I'm going to keep this because we can Growth Spiral, we got double Circuitous Route, we have the time wipe we were looking for last game, and hopefully it'll be enough. Because I would hate to crash out of this video at 1 and 3, but it is an example that there are decks out there that can beat Scapeshift pretty handily. Hi, opponent. Oh, not like this. Don't want to get a win like this. Never want to get a win like this. It's not my kind of thing. Lead on this Thornwood Falls. Gotta give our opponent the hello. Play the island next turn so we can Growth Spiral out the Guild Gate. Hopefully we draw a land in there as well so we can go right into Circuitous Route and really start getting up on mana. And, you know, hopefully at some point in there we can draw a Scapeshift or a Hydroid Crisis, something to take advantage of the fact that we have a lot of ramp here. Alright, so Forest, kind of hoping for a Llanowar Elf or something where they're going to want to start developing a lot of stuff on the board, because since we're ramping out, we're going to be many turns ahead of where we need to be or should be because of mana drops. Alright, Llanowar Elf as predicted, and now we have a Teferi. Go ahead and pass it up here. Growth Spiral at an end of turn. We draw a white source, we can get Teferi in and start bouncing Mana Dorks or Jade Light Rangers, so we're green, go wide. Let's Growth Spiral here. Draw another Growth Spiral, which is still good because it's still a ramp spell we can cast next turn. Brontades. And Druid of the Cowl, so they are just green ramp. Alright, I'm going to play this Rejuvenator because it blocks and might get us a white source. Does it get us a white source? It gets us over white sources of choice. Let's get a tapped one. The next turn, if we draw an untapped land, we can time wipe if that's something we want to do. I like time wiping with the Rejuvenator on the battlefield. Alright, Vinemare, so that is definitely going to be something that's hard for us to deal with. And I think this is an amount of Gonna take 4 here so we can turn that rejuvenate in our hand. I think this is an amount of draw. Alright. Oh, let's lay out the other Rejuvenator. 25 land left in the deck. Hallowed Fountain on there. Tapped. Attack into that. So now we have a blocker for the Vine Mare. Again, kind of wanting them to suit this stuff up. Not Trample, obviously, would be great. Alright, Galta. Now see, this is going to feel good. Hopefully they won't have, like, other Galta, but at the very least they won't be able to cast it easily once we Time Wipe, and we gate a Rejuvenator back to our hand with the Time Wipe. This is going to feel pretty good. I really, really want them to commit one more card out of their hand to the battlefield. That's going to feel pretty good. We will block the 5/3, leaving one Rejuvenator back. And it's going to wipe the time. Bip and bip. And next turn we get to Teferi and Growth Spiral, or Rejuvenator and Growth Spiral, depending on what they produce. Branchwalker into Blanchwood Armor. Alright, well, we are going to Teferi, tick down, bounce that Branchwalker, get rid of that Blanchwood Armor, see what we draw here. That's a Blast Zone, so we'll play the Blast Zone. Pass our turn. Could have replayed the Rejuvenator, but I want to draw the card with Growth Spiral. Rejuvenator was probably the better play there. Getting another creature on the battlefield was probably more important. But the most important thing there was getting rid of that Blanchwood Armor. Okay, we've got a Steel Leaf Champion. Hit that. Land. Our turn. Still didn't get a land. We'll tick this guy up. Cast this fellow. Getting a Field of the Dead as the 7th differently named land. We will detain Steel Leaf Champion. And next turn we get to go off Scapeshift. So, actually next turn, if we draw land, we get to go off with Scapeshift and Circuitous Route, which is just value. Because if we draw land, we're at a place where we can actually Scapeshift for a Field of the Dead and get double the triggers. So opponent, I value what you have done here. I love me some big green idiot kind of magic, but fortunately, opponent, it's not gonna. I'm gonna just go ahead. I'm gonna leave the Blast Zone behind. So we have 2 differently named lands. 1, 2. Blossoming Sands, get back here, you gain life. 3. 4, because you draw cards. 5, because you Tranquil Cove. Enter tapped. Make a bunch more Zambies. Into combat. Bip and also bip. Free our opponent. We have 10 power worth of blockers. If they can manage to assemble another Galto, we can still have enough blockers. Plus we have Teferi. Plus we have this big ol' Hydroid Crisis coming. Nope, opponent has just conceded. Alright, so we're 2-2. Again, I applaud our opponent for playing mono green in a constructed event, but can't really see that going too well. Hey, Loaming Shaman. A style for a card I'm kind of excited to get to play in Brawl when Brawl comes about later this year, after Eldraine releases. Let's get into Game 3. Well, potential win 3, Game 5. Can't say our games have been taking all that long. We're averaging about 5 minutes a game here. So that's kind of nice. Alright, we have our Deputy, we have a Time Wipe, we don't have the ability to play them yet, but we can still play Rejuvenator on 3, and we're on the draw. Sure, this is slow, but it has Time Wipe, and it has, more importantly, a turn 4 Time Wipe to an opponent's Yanling Avatar having Mulligan 6. Hallowed Fountain, uh-oh, we might be in for the mirror. The more I talk, the worse this cough is getting. To be tapped. Did get second Rejuvenator, which is nice. Okay, nope. Opponent is on now Legion War Boss. Should I know this? Frosty HS? Sound like a Hearthstone player. So that could be interesting. Rejuvenator in here. Some Guildgate in. So now we have still, sadly, not the mana to Time Wipe. Frustrating. Second War Boss. One, so this. Still not a white source. Rejuvenate. Alright, well, next turn is Scapeshift into Field of the Dead, so that's something. Hope they don't have counter magic for the Scapeshift. I mean, they've been dead on the aggro plan so far, so hopefully very. An opponent has gone all out with these styles, and hey, it looks nice, but we are going to come real close to dying here. Because 2, 4. Yep, what's this to 4? That's 7, so cancel that. Let's actually float all the mana. Colorless. 2. Control mode. Scapeshift. Scapeshift. Counterspell, that's good. 7. So let's Field of the Dead because we have to. Blossoming Sands because it gains us life. Tranquil Cove because it gains us life. That's 3. Temple Garden is 4. Sun Petal Grove is 5. Glacial Fortress is 6. And Forest is 7. Okay. Resolve. Resolve all. Why is my clock running down? Why is my clock running down? Hey, this is great. Well, let's see what happens here, because we're going to gain 2 life. We are going to produce 7 tokens, which is going to be basically just enough to block our opponent's stuff once we run out of timeouts. I don't know why the game has stalled here. Oh. That was weird, and I didn't like it, because we had the mana for... Jeez, come on! Alright, block there. Block there. There. Block there. There. Block there. And block there. All right. Well, let's start making tokens. Try that growth spiral to the bottom. Rejuvenator, put that into play. Syncopate that, that's fine. Because they can't bounce anything with Teferi. And they've gotten another Teferi, which is quite annoying. Using it for the card draw, which seems fine. Leaving the War Boss at home also seems fine. Not leaving the War Boss at home. Okay. Block, block, so block. So we're still in a pretty bad position, but we can also still just make tokens. Wow. Okay. Let's just get rid of that. As now if they want their Teferi back, they have to get rid of their Teferi, and I'm kind of alright with them trading Teferis. Aha, a Teferi of our own. Let's get rid of their token. Finally get to cast a Circuitous Route? Binding 2 lands. Making some zombies. And we up there to Teferi down 1. And all other things equal, we do still have a time wipe. Which they may have as well, which could be quite annoying. But, I mean, we weathered quite the onslaught there to begin with. Oh. Expansion Explosion. Okay. Well, I mean, Frosty there with the all blinged out deck really did quite the thing. We did not really present much of an example here of how this deck can play, but you've all probably seen a lot of how this deck can play. This is, I guess, an example of how this deck is actually relatively a player, not an oppressive force. It can be an oppressive force. I mean, we've seen with the right draws, it really can be an oppressive force, but there are decks out there that can beat it, and it's late in the format, so in a lot of very, very strange ways, anything can go, especially in Best-of-1 here on Arena. If you like this video, if you didn't like this video, if this video had some impact on you whatsoever, let us know down there in the comments. Also, because it's the YouTube thing to say, and YouTube loves engagement, there's a subscribe button down there. Go ahead and hit that boy. Make sure you put that little bell on so that you get notified whenever we post a new video, which does happen every single week on Thursdays and intermittently in between when we got interesting stuff we need to talk about. We can also be found anywhere anywhere you are social on the internet. Superliminal Films is social on the internet, specifically Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, in addition to right here on YouTube. Give us a comment if you like what you're seeing. Give us a comment if you don't like what you're seeing. And I'll see you next time I gotta record a video or over at twitch.tv/superliminalfilms. Bye, everybody.